Ongoing operations. Although one must constantly try to improve each existing component of a web presence, the key to avoiding most maintenance, customer care, and expansion headaches lies in keeping logical continuity. This is accomplished by building on a scalable information architecture, interaction design, usability, and visual design. Mistake. An overwhelming majority of companies achieve the opposite. Result? A large portion of time and resources is invested in systems which are eventually scrapped only to be reinvented again. These resources will be better invested in building a solid long-term and scalable web presence, enabling a company to focus on expansion while leveraging web investments of the past. This applies within the ERM space as well. Microsoft.com, through their success with MSN, is a good example to observe. Since 1996, they redesigned their network of sites only once, in 1998, without departing too much from the earlier version. Result? Users have had time to learn the underlying logical sequence within their information architecture, interactive elements, and visual design. Overall usability is much higher as a result. Redesigns are not necessarily bad, but once you have initiated a logical pattern to interaction and usability, try to keep some continuity. This is one of the reasons why companies that solely materialize on a clear long-term vision usually end up being more fortunate than their counterparts who do not. Again, one great example that I like to illustrate here is that of Microsoft with MSN. It's much more difficult to design and build a web presence. Thinking of how you're going to be leveraged, components that you're building today 4 years from now, rather than building something just looking at 4 months to 8 months to a year and a half down the road. I think that is a major flaw within many corporations. The inability actually, to not be able to leverage the web investments and technology investments over the long term. I think MSN is a great example. Back in 1995-96, they were a very distant competitor to Yahoo, Lycos, AOL, and other companies who had preceded Microsoft onto the web. Today, MSN is one of the leading portals. It constitutes the leading market share in many different areas. In fact, MSN is a content portal, but also a web services mega house, which offers cars, careers, all the major topics which have been isolated by companies which have preceded MSN, having tough competition and competing with such a large but very nimbly organized web presence. What are some of the factors that influence the success and the scalability and therefore overall efficacy of such a web presence? Well, if you go visit MSN.com, you'll notice that within each subsection, you'll find anything ranging from the career center to buying cars to home advisor. All of these are subdivisions of Microsoft. And what they've been able to do is say, okay, we know that all these divisions are marketing to different demographic groups, and we know that they're going to have to adjust their visual design and interactive elements accordingly. However, we want to create a unified approach. How can we do that? Well, this they figured out years ago when they created the web design which is being used up to this point. In fact, many of the standard elements, such as navigation, are very similar throughout not only the different subdirectories of MSN and the Microsoft.com, but as well as all the international sites which duplicate the Microsoft web presence internationally. You'll see that navigation, the font is standardized throughout the whole range of sites. Navigation is custom first top tier, providing the general navigation throughout the Microsoft web presence, usually a second tier navigation on the left-hand side, and sometimes a third tier optional navigation bar, depending on which web presence you're in. On MSN, footers are standardized to get people to converge into MSN and to also converge into the #1 email service, Hotmail. As you can see, the MSN website is a very complex strategic task because it coordinates the business goals in many different subdivisions while leveraging the size and diversity of the large and very successful company by the name of Microsoft. Again, people sometimes ask me, well, what do you think, what are examples of good web design? In terms of what, I think there are a lot of great examples out there of competent, very talented web designers and web artists. A lot of the designs out there which can catch my eye and provide tension and provide new vision of things. However, aside from talent and artistic ability and the ability to capture someone's attention, I think the discipline of visual design is more of a complementary one, which can really be maximized once everything else has been laid to rest. And so, and the same is obviously true for Microsoft. I believe that the visual design is there to complement and enhance, and does not dominate the web presence, as I think that no other discipline should dominate any one web presence, of course. If we had more time today, I'd definitely go into analysis of the Cisco website. They have obviously many similarities with Microsoft in terms of philosophy, and obviously success is running on a linear pattern as well. But I will be forced to wrap up this session. Again, if you've been browsing onto the Emerson site or the Microsoft.com site, please come back to the main window as we will slowly move into the wrap-up session of this web seminar.